Live and we're late. Apologies. We were actually hoping Laurie will join us.
He got lost. He got lost. I think he said, "I'm going gym and I'm going to be on." So hopefully he'll pop on at some point.
Well, also, it was meant to be like a bit of a debate between us. I think it was meant to kind of be. We talked about it earlier. Me and Laurie, I think, feel more positively about the squad. Turkish, I know from Forever Arsenal, definitely doesn't. Cecil, you were saying we chatted earlier that you don't feel particularly good about it. So we had to have a bit of a debate, but now here I am, just left to argue with you two.
No, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with you, Jay. I'm indifferent.
Are you?
Yeah, we said this. I said this at the studio. I said,
Cecil doesn't know where he is more often than seriously, man.
Sometimes good, sometimes maybe you know what I mean. No, I said today in the studio with Turkish. I said, I think the window was all right, and he goes, "All right, make sure you say that on the live stream tonight. Make sure, and if not, I'll bring it up." So yeah,
kick us off then. Tell me why the window was all right.
All right, cool. So obviously it was in the studio.
Wait. Let's we've got to set the tone.
Let James, set the tone.
I thought that was setting the tone, but
no, let him get the ball rolling. Let him get the ball rolling.
I also think the window was. No, I do, but we'll go into why. But firstly, welcome everyone. Smash the like button. If I do this, my laptop should. It's not going to do it.
Nope.
Damn, doesn't work for me either.
So I just sat there looking like, looking like this.
Hey! Oh! I haven't seen that one. That's class.
Okay. Here we go.
You said it's class.
I thought it was balloons.
I swear you don't like fireworks, James.
Boring. Really. I don't get the hype. I went to the fireworks at the beginning of November. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, fireworks. We got to go." I was like, I'll go, go have some drinks. And I can be outside with my friends. That's fun. But when they're actually happening, you're just sort of. Do you know what I mean? I'm not. Are you guys entertained by fireworks? Is it just me?
No.
Bringing your kids, having some candy floss.
Yeah, kids.
When I have my kids, I get them candy floss. They got the glow sticks, and they're kind of like glow in the dark. So that'll be fun. I'll get them a little toy lightsaber. That'll be jokes. They'll enjoy that. They can see their other kids run around. That's fun.
I think I'm over it now. It's like when I go to them scare places. Like when I go to I'm not going to mention them, but the scare places where we sometimes go to. Like when you're young, it's a good little fun, a little bit of jump scare. Now I'm just like,
I don't believe you for 1 second. I don't believe you scroll through completely chill.
Sometimes, but yeah, no, most time now I do. I'll be real. I'm a bit over it. Fireworks. I just don't like the cold at the moment. I keep complaining how cold it is here, but yeah, fireworks you're looking up for a lot of time. Great, but this live isn't about the fireworks. But yeah, it's good to.
No, I don't have kids. Straw Hat is asking if I have kids. I don't have kids. But I'm saying if I had kids, I could understand why that'd be quite fun. Anyway, let's move on from the fireworks, although it's the only thing my laptop's willing to do. It won't do the thumbs up animation. So there we go. Well, we're going to debate. We're going to debate on this, and we need all your helps in the comments. And be respectful, people. Be nice. Okay, it's just football. Just have a good chat. About Arsenal's squad. Is it that we had a shocker in the window? Now it does it. Taking the piss. Is it that we had a shocker in the window? Or Arteta, Edu, the Cronkies, everyone to blame? Is the squad better than we think? Are the players actually good but performing terribly? We're going to explore all these things. And the reason we're going to do it is because we're about to hit a busy period. Now, look, it feels like we're always saying this. Away at Newcastle, into Chelsea all in a row, I get it. That's tricky. But you're talking about particular fixtures then. We're not having an international break till March. They also, I believe, are not doing the traditional, what they've done in recent years with the winter break, where, half the teams are going to get a week off for the other half of the teams to play. I don't believe that's going to be around. We're still in every cup competition, lots to play from the Champions League, so no respite for Arsenal. The squad has to deliver. Mm-hmm. Cecil, can it deliver? Can this squad deliver more than we've seen? Is it better than it's looked? What are your reasons for it? And let's have it out and debate, and we'll probably move into some transfer window talk and try and address whatever needs addressing.
Oh, let's have it out. Let's discuss. So the simple answer to can the squad be better? Yes, definitely. I think for what we've seen so far in the first beginnings of the season, it hasn't been the Arsenal of old, not the Arsenal we saw last season, not the fluid best. I think we sometimes lost whether we're going left to right, trying to go round and cross it into the box, into no one really. So it can definitely improve. Granted, we've had some circumstances that mitigating circumstances that have resulted in us not playing to the way we were used to. For instance, the red cards, the injuries. Odegaard is big and a big one, him being out. But for me, the squad, there's a good enough squad there, and I'm going to probably use this case study quite a bit going into throughout this conversation in the next hour or 45 minutes. So like Liverpool only just added Chiesa. Yes, they had a good squad before, but they only had Chiesa, and he's barely been available, and they're still doing what they're doing. And I feel like Arsenal squad, only by missing out from the Premier League title by 2 points last season, should be good enough. To be up there and doing better than what we've seen so far. Granted, I think the signings that we made, I don't think they were that bad. We'll get into that a bit later, but the score can get better. I actually think it's a system thing. I've been on live already on YouTube, I think last week, just talking about how I feel the way we play, we are doing a lot, trying to use our wide players. When our wide players aren't as good as they've been, for instance, the Martinelli season when he hit 15 goals, or the Saka season when he hit 16, that's shown that Arsenal suffered. I can't rely on Havertz too much. Granted, yes, he's done well, but he's not doing enough in that position as a striker that we need. And if he's not providing what we need to the level, then we've got to look at our wide players. And I think Martinelli's not, and Trossard, whoever, hasn't really been clicking. And then Saka, he pops up with some good numbers, but we need to go another level. That might be better now that Martin Odegaard's back. We might see that link up being a lot better. But I actually think it's a bit of a system thing at the moment. And people keep screaming striker, striker, striker. People, we're going to talk about this as well probably later, but Gyökeres, for me, I feel like Arteta, if we sign a Gyökeres, we'll have to change our style of play to fit that striker. For me, I feel Isak is the prime, should be the number one target, and he just slots in. I think he benefits everyone. He'll link up with a wide player. I think he'll connect with Odegaard well, and he's a good finisher. So for me, that is the profile of striker I need. And if not, then it's a tough conversation to have. But the left wing needs to be looked at in sense of, I think Martinelli's lost a yard of pace. I don't think he's not the Martinelli of old. I think we need a winger. I thought Sterling was actually going to be it with that speed in behind, that when we're doing in my opinion, I think we keep a lot of the possession in the midfield and go out wide and whatnot. When we're looking for the over the top through balls in behinds, that's where I think we need a player to exploit that. It used to be Martinelli, but I haven't seen that of late. But
we often get that space in behind.
So again,
I don't think we play well enough to exploit space in behind. To be honest.
I think he's changed his style of play, Arteta, though. I think he's done a lot more. I've seen David Raya go longer a lot more. I've seen a lot of our, in some circumstances, and I feel like when they do go long, or a midfielder, say Declan Rice tries and pings it over the top, I think that is an outball that we can use and get goals from, but it just hasn't been, the player that's playing on that wing, that left wing, hasn't been good enough, in my opinion, to convert into goals. So for me, it's an issue. I think we can exploit that space in behind. In football, you have to have many ways of scoring, especially in today's football. We've reduced in the ways we scored last season, end up now being a team that does defensive and scores from corners. And if I'm honest, we spoke about this on Bias Premier League, everyone that joins the Bias Premier League show, but White Yardie spoke about what player has a goal that you're like, yes, if he gets the ball and he gets in this position, that's his sort of goal. We know he's going to score. Saka does it when he cuts in, but really in the team, there's not really other players that we can kind of look at and say, oh, that's their trademark goal. So you need to find a way to score goals in different ways. I think over the top is a great way of scoring goals, and in behind, but I don't think we have the players right now to facilitate that. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, before we go to Turkish, I'm going to push you on this though. So is the squad better than its performances and our overall season performance is showing, or is this their level? Have we ultimately come out the summer worse, and the changes have made us a worse team? And this is a more real reflection of who we are.
That's a really good question. Very good question. Is the team worse than what they're showing? I don't think we've gone. Oh, pick up Laurie. Pick up Laurie. Laurie has arrived.
I'm having some severe problems, man. Apologies.
No problem. This is going to be a good conversation. I'm interested to hear what the peers have to say. But for me, I'd be reluctant to say that we've gone backwards. I really will. I feel like I don't think we have. I just think the squad can perform to a better level, if I'm being real. These are good players. I think Mikel Merino's a good player. I think he can actually benefit this squad. I spoke about this in the preview of Turkish and Laurie this morning, that when he came in and I said Partey is going to be that hold that number 1 spot in midfield, you lot were like, nope, as soon as Mikel Merino's fit, he's going to be going in there. He's going to be the starting midfielder. And it took me a bit of time, but I have actually seen that he has qualities there that he probably will be that succession plan for Thomas Partey. So that's an improvement. Calafiori, he's a quality player. Let's not get it twisted. He does improve that area. He 100% does. Granted, we have a lot of defenders. He bolsters that for me. So that means we can't be going backwards. Timber being fit, by the way, obviously is hard. He's not a new signing, but him being fit benefits the squad. It makes the team better. I'm trying to think of that. Have I missed anyone else out? I get
what you're saying.
So in my opinion, the squad should be better. It's just what we've seen so far, James, is probably what I'm saying doesn't relate to what we've seen. But for me, that hopefully benefits, puts in a positive light that going forward, I pray we start kicking on, and we spoke about this in the preview as well. I think Nottingham Forest is a massive game, and we have to see a performance that can give the fans belief that going forward we can go on and still challenge for this Premier League title, or it could go the other way and we drop points, and I feel like it will start being a bit toxic and go the other way. But I'm doing the positive side.
Stop saying toxic. I want to ban that word.
Oh, you don't like that word?
I'm tired of it.
I was waiting to bite on something. I'm
tired. Toxic is the next word that we need to throw in the bin. I mean, it's so overly used. I don't think fans voicing frustration because they're not seeing good football, or they're not seeing their side create chances and excite is toxic. You know, if we're paying at times the highest ticket prices in Europe, then I'm sorry. You know, part and parcel of that is to see it's entertainment, right? So I wouldn't call that toxic. I think toxic's been overused in the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. I think on the Wenger stuff got to a level of toxicity, and it was probably the right word to use. But aside from that, I don't really, you could argue Man United with Ten Hag, it got like that, but I don't think that word is. I just think it's a harsh word put to people that are objective, or
it's a buzzword. It's a buzzword.
Yeah, like agenda or process or phase, like all these words, throw them out of here, man. I'm tired of them.
I agree. Toxic for me, like it captures the feeling of something seeping into other things, like the Emirates atmosphere. You're right about those Wenger times where people were vocal, across many platforms. I certainly had really and I wasn't, on AFTV or doing kind of content online. I really lost my patience with Arsene Wenger, and that was then shown in the fact that we weren't even filling the Emirates. People weren't going to games. You'd hear boos, like things like that. That's toxic. That's like every kind of element of the club. You'd hear about players kind of falling out or wanting to leave. Toxic is when it kind of spreads. That feeling that's going on in the club is kind of spreading through so many different kind of elements of it. I think we're a long way from toxic when it comes to this football club at the moment. I actually still think people feel very good about this football club. We're just really disappointed that our main objective this season, which is to win the Premier League, is looking extremely unlikely. So I echo what you're saying there, Turkish, but there are concerns. And Laurie, so welcome to the stream, by the way. We're talking about the Arsenal squad and whether essentially the squad, the players that aren't in that first 10, 11, whatever, are they underperforming and letting Arteta down, or are they better than we? Sorry, let me rephrase that. Are they actually a good group who are underperforming, letting Arteta down, and need to do more, or did we fundamentally get things wrong in the window? Did we fundamentally leave ourselves in a worse position than last season? And actually, the squad isn't very good, and that's the price you pay for not doing more when we had the chance. Where do you sit on it? And then we'll come to Turkish.
Yeah, first and foremost, that is an excellent question. And
really
it kind of gives rise to so many other things. I don't think it's a straightforward question, if that makes sense. So, for example, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking the obvious thing is with the transfer window, I think we all said it. We needed a striker. We didn't get what we wanted. And I think to some extent, that is kind of bearing fruit now. In the lack of goals that we're seeing. I was one of those that said we needed a striker. I mean, and I think that we've definitely missed that. However, and this is going to be construed as a criticism of the manager, but I feel that I have to say it, and it's not the first time I've said it, so at least I'm being consistent. I think that there's a serious problem with what I call squad rotation in the team. So, for example, if you are on the periphery of the team, so players like, say, for example, Sterling or Zinchenko and people like that, and there's a few others I can name. In my opinion, those guys are not getting enough minutes. Okay, so when they are called upon, right, I don't think we're seeing them at their best. It's like they're not given an opportunity to show what they have, and I think we've seen that definitely last. I think it's been a common trait with Mikel Arteta since he's been in charge. If you're not in his immediate thoughts, you tend to get overlooked. Even if you look at substitutions, they tend to, in my opinion, they tend to come for the most part far too late. So you're bringing on a guy with sometimes less than 10 minutes to go. I mean, realistically, what are you expecting him to do in that time? And I think that is a problem that has been part of his tenure, if I'm being honest.
Sterling's difference is Zinchenko, though, because Sterling's just arrived. Zinchenko's been here for a while. We've kind of moved past Zinchenko, even though you could see some more of him. But I think we've kind of moved on from that. I think.
Yeah, I gave those two names because they came out the top of my head. But I think it's. Yeah, I do happen to believe that the squad could definitely be stronger, but I think the manager has a way of operating, and he's very firm in his belief in the teams that start. And if you're on the periphery of the team, you tend not to get too many minutes of given a chance to do what you could do, if that makes sense.
So Turkish, the same question to you then. I want to know how your answer compares. And we talked about it a lot, but just categorically, is this squad, better?
It's underperforming, man.
Is it better than we think and underperforming, or is it just not a good squad and it's our fault?
Is it better than we think and they're underperforming, or is it just not a good enough squad? That's the question, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if I phrased it well, but yeah.
I think considering the window, which I'm sure we're going to get into, we are exactly what we are. I think if you give teams a year to read us and analyze our threats and work out ways to attempt to nullify them, then you have to take that into account when considering year on year we don't look as good, because year on year, at least last year, we had some trump cards to play throughout the season, whether it was moving Havertz from one position to another, whether it was Trossard coming off the bench when Martinelli's form dipped. We don't have that this season because Havertz is he's not the hardest striker to read because he's not really a striker. And Trossard's being used as a main man instead of the job that really he should be doing, which is coming off the bench to help us in times of need. So I think we are where we should be at the moment. We didn't do enough in the window to really look at the table and say, listen, what Liverpool have done so far this season is close to perfection, right? They haven't dropped many points. It's as good a start as you can ask for, considering I don't think anyone's gone 11 games in 11 wins straight. I might be wrong in that, but it'd be rare if so. So I think we are where we deserve to be, if I'm honest with you. You take the approach into account as well, and the lack of risk taking both in the window and on the pitch. And I think all things considered, it's not just down to, listen, this modern day football is system based, right? So it's not just the quality of the player, it's the quality of the system and the cogs involved in that system and which cogs are more important. The reality is, in this sort of a system, every cog is as important as the other. Facts. Because there isn't that big cog that you look at to really get everyone turning how they should be turning. And that's where we've let ourselves down, because Man City have that, Liverpool have that, and every Premier League winner has had that, whether it's Man City, Man United, Arsenal, Leicester or Blackburn. I think so. Why do we think that we can go and win the league this season with what we left ourselves with in the summer? We can't. And Laurie's right with the chance thing regarding Sterling, but we as a fan base need to stop accepting the shit they do, because Sterling was surplus to requirements at a Man City side that were challenging. Great teams don't get rid of great players at the age of 27 or 26 or 28, whatever it was. There's a reason behind that. Jesus, Zinchenko too, but when we signed Jesus, Zinchenko, we wasn't close to City. it was about taking the step up. Like City signed Kolo Toure and City signed Adebayor fast. They were making their steps up. That was Zinchenko and Jesus, cool. Came in, done what they need to do, took the step up. Forget them now, because summer, we need to move on from them. But Sterling this summer, in our most important summer in this Arteta era, the process, the phases and all of this shit, and we go buy Sterling, not even buy loan. Come on, man. We're exactly where we deserve to be.
Truthfully, at the time, though, when he did that video and that, there was a little bit of hope to say he could be a Sterling of old that we might have. There was a little bit of stock in it. I think from I've heard from when you saw the video, he said, "Okay, I feel a bit better about it." He's talking what I want to hear. Obviously, it hasn't materialized, whether that's due down to him or the manager not giving him time. But at the time, you'd thought Sterling. I even said, if you get a fraction of what we've seen him at his best, and we might be all right, because I expected the team to be going to another level coming into this season, especially when you're going for the title and what you've produced last season. The reason why I say the team's underperforming and it's not a terrible squad, because last season, let's say, look, great defensive record, I think one of the best in the league, let's say, with Saliba and Gabriel. This season, they're the same back two. Granted, they've just been worse. We've been leaking goals, and it's not like we haven't had one without the other, bar the Bournemouth red card. I just think that's a change. I expect Saliba and Gabriel to be solid, and every time I go to games and I speak to fans before matches, the things they will say to me is, I predict it's going to be 2-0 or 3-1 or whatever, because our defense is so good. They never mention about, and then they say like, it's more about us scoring. Our attacking prowess isn't always the level that they want it to be right now. It's not the level they want it to be. So they say defensively we're fine. I think can trust in Saliba, trust in Gabriel, trust in Timber at the back, Calafiori, Ben White, whoever it is. They're like, defense, I'm not worried. It's more about going forward, and that's why where I put my stock is that we are just underperforming, because I think we have the players to shut out teams. We've just been bad recently.
Why was there so much hype with Calafiori? Like, I'm not saying he's not a good player. He's a good player. Yeah. But why do our fan base do this? It gives the club free reign to get away with things like this, because we hype up standard transfers for a big club. Calafiori was a standard transfer for a big club. It's a centre-back at Bologna that's had a breakthrough season, and he's had a great 90 minutes at Euros, right? That's a standard for a Man City or a Real or a Bayern or whoever in their heyday looking past, going for titles and have... Calafiori's a standard signing. Oh, that's nice. But what else are we doing? Instead, we bring out the posters, side profiles, aura, long hair, all of this
buzzwords,
nonsense.
aura, buzzword, another buzzword.
And the club feed off this nonsense. They absolutely feed off of this nonsense. That guy, a defender this summer was like 5th on the priority list. 5th. We spent the most money on a position that should be 5th priority. Make that make sense. You can't. There is no sense in that. And again, I'm not saying Calafiori is not a good player. He is. But the necessity of him in the summer wasn't so that we spend the bulk of our transfer budget on a centre-back that we plan to play at left-back. Because don't forget, that's also the plan. So why in our final phase, process, year of whatever, the expectation, why are we buying players after 1 year in a certain position to put them in another position? And we as fans think that that's going to close the gap on probably the poorest City side we've seen under Pep Guardiola.
Sorry to go back and forth.
Not good enough.
Sorry to go back and forth with conversation. Me and Turkish kind of dominating here, but I was jumping on this as well, and I wasn't the one screaming Calafiori is the one. I know there were some people that are saying
I'm not talking directly to you. Trust me, I'm talking.
No, I know you're not. But I'm just saying in general. I agree with what you're saying. Some fans are saying I knew before the Euros that he was going to be a good player and a top signing. He's a good player, of course. But I think the reason why they get away with it is because there's so much trust in Mikel Arteta. When he signed David Raya, we all said, what is he doing? We don't need a goalkeeper. This is 5th on the priority list or wherever, 9th, 10th. No one cared. And then it turned out to be what David Raya is. Fans sort of started to trust Mikel Arteta. Even me, you kind of think, do you know what? Whatever you're doing, I'm on board. So the same with Calafiori. It didn't excite me. However, I just thought there must be a reason, or he must have seen something why we need to make this signing. Granted, you could even argue that Zinchenko not being a mainstay now is what he's buying forward to cover and protect. I don't think it's needed, because right now we need a striker, we need a good attacker. But that is what it comes down to, I think, Turks. I think people they've over-trusted Mikel, and then it just kind of hasn't really
Yeah, so it's time. It's time
Can
to speak.
I raise a spectre here? And this is something that I've been speaking in WhatsApp groups with various other Arsenal fans and listening to Turkish talk and yourself, Cecil. I feel minded to bring this up now. It may throw a little bit of
out of the cage.
Yeah. Do we think that the recent activity or inactivity in the transfer window had anything to do with Edu leaving the club? Do you guys think that there might be something? Because
they didn't know about it.
I can't help but think that Edu leaving as he did, there may be a lot more to it than we're led to believe.
Sorry, Laurie. Let me get the question right because I answered it, but I think I misunderstood. Are you asking, did Edu leave because the window wasn't what he wanted, or are you asking, was the window not good because Edu was always leaving? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm kind of what I'm suggesting is a direction that the club took something to do with why Edu's left.
Okay, sorry.
Could it be that the club are not happy with him, or could it be that Edu wanted to bring in a striker, wanted to go all out? I mean, I'm sure you guys all saw Gyökeres yesterday. You know, 4 goals for Sweden. He's got like 30 odd goals this season for club and country, banging goals in. Isak's looking good. Now, these were the names that we were being linked with that ultimately we didn't get, and pretty much everyone here said we needed a striker. And like Turkey says, we ended up with Sterling, who, a lot of us, I'm going to admit, when it was announced, initially I was a bit taken aback, but then I thought, because I tried to be positive and think, you know what? It may prove to be a bit of an ingenious signing if it can lift us. Sterling was a bit out in the wilderness at Chelsea, but we thought, he's still got something in him. He's still got a little bit to prove, and it might work in our favour. However, that doesn't appear to be working. I mean, it's still relatively early yet, but the signs are not good. So what I'm suggesting is Edu leaving anything to do with the fact that we didn't bring in a striker or we weren't more active in the transfer window? I'm just throwing that out there because that is a subject that is being raised in WhatsApp groups by Arsenal fans up and down the country.
Who wants to answer it?
I don't think he left or he was encouraged. Firstly, it sounds like he left and told the club that he was leaving. Mm-hmm. I don't think Edu left because he sort of didn't believe in the Arsenal project anymore. I might be wrong. I just think he was offered a fantastic opportunity to have a bigger role that paid better.
He was offered that opportunity before, right? And he turned it down. If we're told it's true.
Yeah, we don't know the terms of what he was offered in the summer.
Do you not think it's a bit strange that he's leaving now? I mean,
but what are we saying that Edu wasn't given the funds to do what he wanted to do? He spent a lot of time.
That's what I'm suggesting might have happened, or maybe the direction that he wanted to go in wasn't being supported by the club, so he thought, you know what.
I'm gonna quit. Sorry, I'm gonna jump in. I don't think that's the case. From what I don't know, from interviewing him, speaking with him, it's art. I think he's fully backed. I think him and Arteta are fully backed. When we go and see the Cronkies in America, when we saw them, James, when you go and speak with them, they seem like they're fully believing in what Arteta's doing. I know we haven't won nothing significant in the past 4 years, but I think, well, apart from the FA Cup, but I think they really back him, especially at the time that they brought him in. It was around the Kroenke out period, the protests and all of that. And I think what Arteta's done to kind of change the narrative, the pressure, the everything off the board. I think they actually, when we speak to Josh Kroenke when in America, he's happy with Arteta. He'll do what.
Make out like we're best friends with him.
No, we're not. But we've been to a media day. We
you ain't helping your allegations. You ain't helping your allegations.
I'm not. We're not obviously. But when we listen, just hear me out. I think when I especially when I was in America, he kind of said what Arteta wants, we're backing him. We kind of listen to what he says. They think he's done a really good job. Granted, to us fans, we want to see a Premier League trophy or Champions League trophy. But I feel like the pressure's off them, and I think they're at a stage where it's whatever you need, Mikel, we will sort for you. I think that's the same with Edu. And
not whatever you need, that's for sure. Not whatever you need.
But I've seen Arteta say in the past, obviously him being there was one interview I think you brought up, Turkish, and he was like he was frustrated about not getting maybe one signing, but okay, if to get away from FFP, then I think he gets a lot of back in Turkish, apart from unless it's crossing FFP rules, which I don't think the club want to ever do.
That's another thing I want to ban, FFP.
Another buzzword.
Yeah,
cool.
Because I mean, come on, no one really understands it or what's going on,
and
or has seen the ramifications of potentially. But come on, we just bring letters together, and it's the old Wenger thing, you know.
I think the reality is fans are not interested in that. They just want to see clear, tangible signs that the club is moving forward.
Yeah, nowadays though, fans are accountants and bloody.
Can I jump in? Can I just jump in and pull this back a little bit? Right, the question we're answering, we've got about another 25 minutes here. Is what's happened to Arsenal's squad? Again, are they underperforming? Are they not? And is it to do with the transfer window or whatever? Now, I've listened a lot. I want to just sit back and sort of take everyone's sort of opinions in here. And here's where I stand with it. I totally agree with Turkish on. We wanted to make a statement. We wanted to make a jump, and Raheem Sterling on loan was never going to do that. At best, it maintains where you are. We didn't do anywhere near enough in that department. I was happy with the Calafiori Marino signings. I think sometimes big clubs do just bring in standard signs that tick things away. I agree. As a fan base, we react to it like, you know, we've signed Karim Benzema and Prime Zidane, but generally, I think those signings are fine to mix up certain positions, to give you something fresh. Players are experienced. Well, Marino's experienced. Calafiori could get to a really good level. That's all fine. Remember, Liverpool fans were really annoyed they didn't get Calafiori over us. So, you know, these are players who are in demand. So I'm fine with all that. But what I do feel, though, simultaneously, is that I don't think Gabriel Jesus has become a totally, utterly useless footballer overnight. And I feel like sometimes he's spoken about, and like the idea of him starting a Premier League game is like, no, he can't. I find that extraordinary. I know he had the knee problem, and he's not the same as the Jesus we signed, but his levels for me haven't dropped to a point where, or shouldn't have dropped to a point where it's like we couldn't possibly play him. Trossard, who was the guy, he was the guy in the run-in. Now we don't want to see him anywhere near the 11. Some fans were celebrating his injury. Ben White was slightly out of form. Everyone was going, well, you know, it's fine because during Timber, forgetting what Ben White had done for 3 years. I think there's just players that Jorginho, I mentioned this for Arsenal, Turkish, we chatted about last night. You know, Jorginho, his form for Arsenal and our results with Jorginho in the team are exceptional. Like, he's been great for us. The results more than the performance, but the results have been exceptional. We've gone on great runs and generally played great when Jorginho's been, but he doesn't touch the grass ever. So while I think the window was underwhelming and we should have done more, especially in the forward area, and I don't think we showed the ambition I wish we did, I didn't hate on the window so much. I just feel that, like, why is this group so underperforming so much from a squad perspective? And I don't think Arteta trusts this group as much as he should. Like,
what in what players, in what sense? I
think Jorginho could play more football. I think Kivior is a left centre back. Stop shoehorning him at right centre back or left back, whatever. He was brought in to be cover for Gabriel, and we don't ever seem willing to rotate our players, even not even physical fatigue, for mental fatigue. We don't ever seem like willing to like move players around in that way. Bukayo Saka, basically until this season, was being played all the time, where Gabriel Jesus has proven over many years and in an Arsenal shirt that he's perfectly capable to play, you know, on the right wing if needed. Trossard shoehorned into the 10. He's not a touchline winger on the left. He's played his best football as a false 9, but we never really see him there. I just think his actual use of the squad hasn't been good enough, in my opinion.
Raheem Sterling can't do that right now.
Well, maybe he can. Waneri looks good enough. Why doesn't he use him more? Like,
James, that is something that I alluded to earlier. I did say that, and that is one of my constant criticisms of the man. He does not rotate the team enough. If you are a peripheral player at Arsenal, get used to the bench, mate, because you are not going to be given a lot of game time. And history tells us that is what this manager does. And as I said, we've seen it in games when it comes to even substitutions. I saw it with Waneri the other day. He was screaming for him to come on. I think he came on in the 86th minute. You know what I mean? And for me, you're not giving the guy enough time to show his worth.
Like, I don't I'm not sitting here trying to convince you all that Zinchenko, Sterling, and Jesus are amazing players. I'm not trying to do that. But you telling me Sterling isn't good enough to get 15, 20 minutes against Inter Milan in a game when Martinelli's really struggled to do anything. You're telling me he's that bad. So 3 years ago, he was England's best player or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, he started last season on fire for Chelsea, but fell off. Cool. I'm not saying he's a good player, but he's not good enough to come on at all against Inter Milan. Zinchenko gets 10 minutes. Like, I find that Waneri, whenever he comes on, looks brilliant, which again kind of contradicts my point about Sterling, because if Waneri in 5 minutes can look quite good, why can't Sterling in more? I understand. But I don't think Arteta, personally for me, has ever, since winning the FA Cup, you see it in the way we've gone out of competitions. You look at the management of other sort of players like Vieira, Lokonga, who at times look like they might have something, and then they look awful. Why do these players just look terrible? Why do our players go from either they're the answer or they're looking like they can do something to they can't do anything at all? I find it really strange. I don't know a club that quite have this. Like, and so, you know, Marino, first Premier League start in the 10, please. Why would he do that? I find that really bizarre. Anyway, let me shut up now. I take your point. Turkish, what's your thoughts on that? I agree with what you're saying to a point, but for me, the squad is massively underperforming, and I actually think Mikel's a big part of why.
Yeah,
Mikel's part of why, but not for those reasons, in my opinion. Could he rotate more? But do you think I want to see Sterling and Jorginho start games for Arsenal? No. We should, like, yes, Jorginho's done well since coming, but I'm sick of getting these has-beens from these clubs, and then especially in a season like this, potentially relying upon them. Like, they've been there and done that for other clubs. But that's a separate issue. I agree that more rotation is your squad. You lot brought in Sterling. Why the hell ain't you using him? You lot put Ranieri as the backup to Odegaard. So I agree with you there. But
can I come on that quickly? Yeah. Sorry, can I just interrupt on that bit, right? Sorry, because I hear what you're saying, and I don't want them starting Inter Milan away, but Southampton at home, which, to be fair, I think Sterling and Jorginho both started that game. I don't think either did well. So I'm not really helping my point here very much, but that was seemed to be a one-off, like a real one-off against who at the time were the worst team in the league. And I feel like there's surely 4 or 5 teams in the league, if not for the sake of resting Declan Rice or Martinelli a little bit more. Surely these players can do more than... And them doing more, it's on them, but it's also on Arteta to show them that I believe on you to do a bit more. Like, Zinchenko is the one that's kind of... Sterling maybe he's past it. Jesus had an injury and Jorginho's 30-something. But Zinchenko is in good years still, hasn't had any significant injury. Like, in his final season at Man City, made a difference on that final day to help them win the title. In his first season for Arsenal, was pretty transformative to the way we played and the levels we went up. And he gets 10 minutes against Inter Milan. Like, what? So that player's completely gone to the point where, as a fan base, it's like the idea of him starting, we're all like, oh, no, I can't have Zinchenko. We're cooked if Zinchenko plays.
Arteta was on that as well. He put Mars Lewis Skelly ahead of him. It may have changed now, but he was bringing him on over Zinchenko.
All this rotation talk is just positions that I don't think has cost us as much as the position we're not talking about here. So yes, it's a problem. But really, I want to be talking about apart from Sterling maybe, and we've mentioned Jesus, like, we're talking a lot about defenders and midfielders. The reality is, again, I'm going to go.
You know why you're not talking about a striker? Because we didn't get one.
but it takes the attention away from that when we're talking about the rotation there. We've got a lack of it there. So yes, we could rotate more in defense and midfield and possibly perform a bit better. I don't think Zinchenko's been the answer to some of our things this season because it's attack related. Yes, he can aid the attack, but we've also seen him cost defensively. It is what it is. My problem is, if you don't add to attack, it costs defense and midfield as well. Because if your attack is found out, there's more confidence. The first threat for opposition is who's their attack. More often than not, you're looking at a team's attack, whether it's a championship game, a Premier. You're looking at, how do we nullify them, or they don't have enough. We can, go on the front foot. We don't have enough. So it's made the job of the midfield harder, and it's made the job of the defense harder because teams have more confidence against us. Because Martinelli, that guy needs to improve and improve fast. He needs to improve and improve fast. He is not a threat to any defenses, and this is coming a long way from 2 years ago where he was cooking Trent. Anytime he played Liverpool, he was cooking fullbacks at the highest ever in the Premier League. He was our best attacking player towards the end of that first challenge season. Havertz, he's never going to be a threat up top. We all know this, but we praise his other things to avoid saying what it is about. A striker should be able to, be an animal in the box, lethal, be hungry for goals. We don't want to talk about that much. In general, I'm saying, would rather talk about the space he creates or the dual winning ability in the mid third or on the wings. What centre back is scared of a fucking dual winning guy that he's not in the box for 87 minutes of the game? No.
It's interesting you mentioned it with the Havertz. He's always appears to be that elephant in the room that people always eventually bring up. But so if we look at his goals last, I think he got 13 Premier League goals last season, and he did reasonably well up top, especially towards the back end of the season. So going into this season, although a lot of people, myself, Turkish, well, all of us, said that we needed a new striker, there was a lot of Arsenal fans, and it would appear that the club was going down this route, that actually Havertz might be that guy after all. But deep down, I think we all knew that we didn't really see Havertz as that 20-goal a season man. So we needed, the striking department needed bolstering. And as we've said repeatedly on this show and other shows, that's not happened. And I think we're paying the price for that. But if you look at what Turkish said, he's absolutely right. I'm not sure if Havertz strikes fear into the opposition. So, for example, if you look at our opponents this weekend, Notts Forest, their centre forward is a certain Chris Woods, who, let's face it,
he doesn't strike fear.
Chris Woods is a better striker than
But you say that, Cecil, but the man has 8 goals this season,
brother,
which is double. Let me land, bro. Let me land. He's got 8 goals compared to Havertz 4. You look at Isak, he had a bit of a slow start, but he's starting to bang goals in. You know what I mean? And Salah and the likes goes on. We needed bolstering in that striking department. We didn't get it. What we got was Sterling, who a lot of us suspected at the time was a bit of a sop to the fact that we didn't bring in anyone. And I think that is starting to, unfortunately, chickens are coming home to roost.
But Kai Havertz is a great example.
Wood is more of a threat as a striker than Havertz. I hope you all know this. I'm not saying he's scary. I'm not saying he's scary, but trust me, centre-backs are more worried about Chris Wood than they are Kai Havertz.
Maybe because he's a battering ram and he can be really good in the air.
Maybe because he's actually there amongst the centre-backs.
Well, so this goes...
And that goes to Arteta. It goes to...
He's changing.
Right. Kai Havertz is a better player for me than Chris Wood, in my opinion. I genuinely do believe that. But my thing is that Kai Havertz is a great example. He's a great example of this whole debate, okay? So you're saying, or say the argument is Kai Havertz isn't good enough and we're seeing it this season. But my answer my question would be like, he's out on the touchline. He's trying to do what he's being asked to do what Ødegaard would normally be doing. So I'm not saying Havertz shouldn't do better with the space he's in or whatever, but how can I judge him as a striker? Because the minute we lost Ødegaard, Arteta decided to move Havertz around.
In an ideal world,
not in all those games, though, was that? That wasn't in all of them.
Since Ødegaard's injury, pretty much all of them. I noticed it at home to Southampton. I was at that game. We beat them 3-1, and he was out on the touchline that whole time. He actually scored the goal, to be fair, playing in that pocket. But then he had a brilliant last half an hour when he moved up top and he was leading the line and he was fantastic. And I've seen him away at Tottenham. I thought he led the line brilliantly in that game in the away win. I thought he was terrific at Man City, all off the ball stuff. But his work rate and everything was outstanding. And he needed to do a particular job in that game. I thought he did. And again, Ødegaard goes. And now we're asking Havertz to do something slightly different, albeit against Tottenham again. He was sort of up front, I hear it, without Ødegaard. Cool. But go on.
You're not the only one that says it, but this whole he led the line, whatever. In general now, this whole led the line. I never used to hear R9 led the line well. Thierry Henry led the line well.
You don't like buzzwords, isn't it?
No, but what it's a way to cover up that he doesn't get goals. When people say he leads the line well, it's because he'd work hard. He might put in the yards, close down defenders. He puts himself about. These are all things he does, but it masks what we need up top. And I'm not saying that's Havertz's fault. We should never have signed him, but it goes full circle back to fans, because when we did sign him, he's got a chant within 2 weeks and we're all lapping it up. So
and I sometimes feel,
like, come on.
Just
No,
to add,
we do talk about leading the line well, though. We do. I wasn't watching football in the R9 days.
No, football's changed.
We do talk about players and everything they do in the game now. Defenders need to be able to attack, and attackers need to be able to defend. Kind of at least more than I've ever known it in football, and I've watched it under 20 years. But with Havertz, some people saying Lacazette and stuff. Guys, like Havertz, he scored in the run-in at Tottenham. He got that brilliant assist, from Kai Saka. And I'm not sitting here saying we can't do better than Kai Havertz. What I'm saying is we've actually got some evidence of good form, scoring against Newcastle, scoring away at Brighton, playing really well in those away games, putting like good numbers up. I don't know what the numbers were, maybe 9-10 goals in the second half of the season as a striker. Really good numbers. He starts this season well, scores against Wolves on the opening day, scores against PSG. I've got the fixtures. Scores against Brighton at home, 7 goals in 7 games at the Emirates in a row. So he's actually putting up numbers as well as just the moments and the all-round everything. Ødegaard goes, we want to mess around with his position. And now I'm meant to sit here and go, yeah, he's definitely a terrible striker.
No, we're not saying that, James.
In our bad form, we haven't seen him in that position. And I'm annoyed at Arteta for messing around with that, if I'm honest.
I'm not saying he's a terrible player.
You're not wrong.
However, I do think, and again, I don't want to belabor the point, but I think it's pretty much self-evident. We needed bolstering in that striking department. And maybe the fact that we didn't get that puts more pressure on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. At
the end of the day, you cannot escape the fact that we needed a striker. And we all said it. Listen, we're not, myself and Turkish, we're not trying to be wise after the event. We did a show on this channel at the start of the season, and we all said that is what we need. And we were ultimately very disappointed that we didn't get the likes of Isak or Gyökeres or even, what's the guy, Cisco. You know what I mean? So...
Cisco.
It's good.
A Freudian slip. But yeah, so, and I think chickens are coming home to roost now, because what is the main thing that people were saying about Arsenal, both fans of Arsenal and football fans outside the club? What is the one thing that they're always saying? We're not scoring enough goals. And like Turkey said, when you're not scoring enough goals, that ultimately puts pressure on the midfield and the defence, because, you know what I mean, in order to win games, you have to score goals.
We also are leaking more goals, though. It's also an issue. Not
pressure builds, right? You're not scoring goals. Football is a low-scoring game. So when you concede a goal, or say you go a goal in front, it kind of relieves the pressure of the team. It allows them to play a bit more most of the time. I'm not saying every time you score first, you go on to win. But you know what I'm saying, yeah? The longer it goes and you're not scoring goals, the more the pressure is on the team. Yeah.
But that goes to Turkish's point. Not doing anything to the attack has impacted our midfield and defence as well. Attackers, especially if we're trying to get the right creative left eight and all that, they're going to thrive off the right movement and the that energy you need from your front three and your defense. It gets to a point where it's like you lot aren't scoring goals. That there is kind of more pressure on them to keep that ball out the back of the net.
Is Havertz a good number 2? Is he a good second striker for you lot? So if he wasn't a start, So if he was
sub.
Would you be happy with?
Trust me, behind the mask of glee, everyone knows he's a sub. Everyone knows. We can do 60 million down the drain all we want. Everyone knows he's best used as a utility man. You bring him on, because that's when duels matter. You need to change up the game a bit. You can bring him on into certain positions and you can hit the ball a bit long. He would be a great substitute to have. Imagine that, great. But he's on 270.
I was about to say he's the highest paid. I was about to say that.
That's full stop. That's it. Matt done. Not good enough for that money. We messed up. We've got to fix it. Full circle back to the fans. We've done the same with Eddie. We've done the same with players in the past, Bellerin and all of these people. We're doing the same with Havertz now. Havertz ain't good enough to lead the line. So now, look, this summer I made a point of, you know what, who am I? But I do content. I give my opinion and some people listen. But I made a point of not putting any pressure on the club in terms of, I think I know what we need. Don't ask me what players. Don't ask me when. Don't ask me why it's taking long. I trust that they're going to do what they need to do to close this gap. James will testify for that because he was always asking me about here and there to find out. I always said, leave them to it. We'll find out. Never again will I do that. And none of the fan base should do that. Because if you're swinging off a player's nuts towards the end of a season because he scored a few goals, you give the club the strength to make a decision like they did in the summer. And by the end of the summer, we're cheering Sterling and saying Havertz can get 20 goals. Come on. Like, it's a joke thing at times, man. Oh, sorry, go on.
We're gonna start rounding up. We'll go through super chats really quickly. Again, you know, for people who watch Forever Arsenal, they'll be bored of me saying it because we've had these conversations there, Turkish. But it's not that I disagree with anything you're saying. I actually agree with almost all of it. I just my other layer to it is, yes, hold the club responsible. Yes, look at the Kroenkes, they could have done more. Yes, look at all these things. But at the same time, for me to definitively go, Sterling was a disaster, Kai Havertz, you know, isn't the guy, and whatever it might be, Vieira was a waste of money, whatever it might be. I really love Arteta when we're not doing well and when there is actually adversity to roll the dice more on these, so we actually get more answers. I would like to see it more.
Why don't you think the lack of playing time is the answer though? Because I take that as the answer. And
with Sterling, I totally agree. With Zinchenko, when you signed him for 35 million and he was undroppable, to then sort of make him almost unplayable just feels like such a crazy flip to me. With Kai Havertz has literally just led the line in the run-in to you moving him out of position. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you're right. With Raheem Sterling, basically, the answer is probably, yeah, he's a disaster, and the fact he isn't playing him tells you that. I'd take your point.
Zinchenko shouldn't be here anymore.
Doesn't defend him.
We should have sold him in the summer, right? We bought Calafiori and Timber came in initially and Lewis Skelly shot up.
No, but when you look at the injuries we've got, that's probably proven a good thing we kept him.
Yeah, not really, because Lewis Skelly is still available, and we've seen Arteta use Lewis Skelly ahead of him, and we've questioned that ourselves. So essentially, he seems like fourth choice. So why did we keep him? Make some change. We had 20 to throw at a keeper that we didn't get. Remember that? But we got Neto on loan and Sterling on loan. What happened to that 20 plus for the keeper? Sell fucking Zinchenko, put 30 on that. Go and get someone. Instead, we kept a lot of the bullshit. And now we're talking about rotating some of it back in. And listen, Zinchenko done a job for us. Yes, 100%. But our problems don't, okay, you know what? With Zinni, he can aid our attack. That's for sure. In the first season, he done that. But we've moved so far away from our approach in that first season that even me looking at his attacking sides of things, it's non-existent anymore because we don't play like that. It's like talking about Ben White overlapping. That was a whole 2 years ago now. You know, it's been a whole year of, you know, in different time positioning from Ben White because he's been asked to do so. We've changed a hell of a lot. So yes, Zinchenko ain't played as much, James, but really we should have sold him. You know, we probably should have sold a couple more players to really go in and fix the necessary depth. We didn't.
James, do you expect Havertz to return back to the centre of being a striker on Saturday, with Odegaard being back?
For everything I've said, he did against Chelsea. I thought he was really poor against Chelsea. So yeah, there we go.
I think there's one recurring theme as well with Havertz, and I don't want to make this the Havertz show, but it's become quite clear now that a lot of the goals he gets are at home, and they tend to be against the less strong teams. You know what I mean? Let's have it like that.
I need to look into that. You might be right, but
yeah, that is a criticism that has been put out there as well. But I mean, as we draw to a close, I think what's becoming clear is that there is a problem in both areas. A, being that the transfer window wasn't a success and didn't deliver what the vast majority of fans wanted, which was, as we've said many times, a striker. And B, as I said before, we do have to ask, I feel anyway, questions that have to be laid at the manager's door as to why there is not more rotation within the squad. And I repeat, players on the periphery of the squad are not getting enough minutes. Is that because the manager doesn't trust them? And then if so, then why did you get them? I.e. Sterling. Yeah. Why get him if you're not going to play him? When we got Sterling, we were being told by a number of people, listen, it's an inspired, or it could be an intuitive signing because Arteta's worked with him at City and they apparently had a very good relationship, and Arteta could be the man to get the best out of him. So far, we've not seen anything close to that. We're all scratching our heads wondering, why isn't this guy getting more minutes? I've even seen something being put out there. I'm sure you guys have all seen it. I'm not sure if it's true, so I don't want to delve into it, but it's been speculated upon that maybe the manager's not happy with what he's seen of Sterling in training. I'm sure you guys have all seen that.
I think that's clear.
Has he watched the last 2 years of him?
I think that's clear.
Or is that just, was that hidden away footage or something? Yeah. The reason they done that, Glory, is so fans can dance and sing on the last day of the window and dance and sing we did. How many times are we going to do that for nonsense? Absolute nonsense. Let's stop dancing and singing.
It goes back to what Cecil said. Cecil made a good point when he said that because of some of the other signings he's made, fans tend to want to trust the manager. You don't want to go against the grain until it's absolutely proven that it didn't work. And then we can say, right, see, I knew it. You know what I mean? So Cecil did make a good point there. And when he made that point, I thought, you know what? You are right about that. Fans, as a collective, we do tend to do that. We will wait and wait and wait and see, and then we will cast a die. I mean,
all right.
To have one last point is that James mentioned it earlier. Gabriel Jesus, what a disappointment he's been. I mean, I think he's got like 1 goal in his last 25 games. I mean, he's supposed to be the backup striker. What has gone on there? The guy's form's fallen off a cliff. Now, I don't know if it's because of injury, lack of confidence, lack of game time. Maybe it's a combination of all three. But the bottom line is he's nowhere near delivered.
Right, guys, we're going to go into super chats and round off the show. Thank you to everyone. Sorry that we're only getting to them now, people. We've been sort of deep in this debate. Joey says that we have players that have outgrown the club and need to go. That's honest opinion. Please don't talk about Sterling. It gives me nightmares. Sorry, we spent half an hour talking about him, so apologies. I take all W says we have funds for stadium upgrade, but not signings. Yeah, I'm interested if that.
Sorry, I recently went on a stadium tour and the tour guide, very knowledgeable of the club, she said, I don't know where that's come from. She said they can't go any higher when it comes to the Emirates. They can't go any higher because the Islington Council said that Emirates can't be any taller. So they are considering going down to extending it, but I don't see that happening for a long, long time. Yeah.
Sire says Liverpool start to this season has made fans reevaluate Arteta's progress, rightly so, since Paul hardly spent money. Matt says, in order to motivate a failing squad, which method works best? Love, so incentives and encouragement, or fear, punishment and threat of replacement? I think it's a balancing act, to be honest. Ruhi, I hope we've answered this. We've discussed why is Sterling not playing more. Hopefully we've answered that for you.
It's his defensive attributes. I keep banging on about it. But there's also that's Turkish, obviously thoughts on him, but always it is massively that as well, because I saw Ben White lose it with him at Bournemouth. I don't know if the cameras wouldn't have captured it, but because he wasn't helping him when he was defending, that is one big thing for why he's not playing, and probably partly because he hasn't done too much since when he has had his opportunity.
Karsh asks, what's the max points we can drop in the next 10 games? I'm sure we're all going to say 0. Daniel says, how many times before something needs to happen before you accept it as reality? Arsenal historically failed to take the next step in the transfer window, reduce your expectations. Michael says, Arteta has been so lucky with injuries from the start. And Adash says, Arteta needs to pick the profile 9 he wants, trying to chuck crosses with a false 9. Kai Havertz don't make sense. If it's false 9, make Martinelli go in, not touchline. I actually think he makes some good points there. He needs to sort of what he wants from that position. A big thanks for the super chats. A big thanks for everyone who's tuning in. There's Collection in the comments. Hope you're well, Collection, man. And we'll be back covering everything here on AFTV. For Arsenal's out, go check that out. It's Forest in a couple of days' time, man. That's sort of it's come around. I've enjoyed this international break. But big thanks to Laurie. Big thanks to Cecil. Big thanks to Turkish. Let us know in the comments if you didn't get your comment live in the show. Let us know in the comments of this video if you're watching it later. Your thoughts on all this. We'll go through them too as well. I've got to dash, everyone. Big thanks. Catch you in a bit.
See you later.